हमारा जो टॉपिक है इट इज द ब्रिटिश रेजिडेंसी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट एंड रोल। और जो टॉपिक है असल में ये टॉपिक जो है इट इज अबाउट हाउ ब्रिटिश सक्सेसफुली installed a resident in the state and what role resident played in the state politics and development later on। अगर हम पहले देखेंगे एस्टैब्लिशमेंट का, यानी हाउ द रेजिडेंस और रेजिडेंट was established or stationed in Jammu and Kashmir state. As you know, in the Treaty of Amritsar signed in March 1846, if you look at several clauses, the clauses of Maharaja, there was no mention of resident. Actually, residents couldn't zikr. और मैं उन्हें तम तो in that sense, the Jammu and Kashmir was a kind of a special state because the British didn't impose any resident on the state. अगर आप बाकी स्टेट्स को देखोगे, if you look at other states of India with which British had treaties, इन स्टेट्स में एक डिफरेंट बात थी। वो ये थी कि the external sovereignty was always in the hands of British. Sovereignty is a qism. A state possesses two kinds of sovereignties: internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. So whenever the British entered into a treaty with any of the state in India, always the external part of sovereignty of that state, it rested with the British. ये मकसद की साथ कहा treaty कर British clash the Indian status then. One point is an source ये चीज की external sovereignty as a always British है. External sovereignty means defense, communication. It will all remain with the or in the hands of the British. The defense of the empire or defense of that state will always be the British authority or British will remain in the hands of British. और जहां तक इंटरनल सॉवरेंटी की बात की, मैं बाकी स्टेट्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, इनके साथ इंटरनल सॉवरेंटी, the British promised in those treaties that internal sovereignty will rest with the state. यहाँ पर promise करना कि internal sovereignty रोज status था, but since in those treaties there was mention of a resident in the port, but सारी treaties में वो सी mention करी कि ना कि port must appoint करना resident. So when this clause is there, it means that a part of internal sovereignty was also in the hands of British. This resident always interfered in the internal administration of those states. Therefore, we can say both external part of the sovereignty and internal part of the sovereignty by virtue of resident was actually in the hands of the British. So ruler was only in name. और इसके मुकाबले में अगर आप देखोगे ट्रीटी ऑफ अमृतसर, ये कुछ डिफरेंट ट्रीटी। पहले ही there is no mention that external part of sovereignty will remain with the British. Kaat clause should be out of these 10 clauses, any clause don't mention सिर्फ आख binding status कि whenever the British will be campaigning on and around the state, the Maharaja and his male heirs, they have to provide a kind of assistance to the British. Whenever the British is fighting on the frontier, the British has fight कर रहा है किस इलाके पे, तब जाकर महाराजा को फौज भेजनी. Otherwise, there is no mention that external sovereignty will remain with the British. or British will take decision about the defense of that state. तो large internal external sovereignty बस सिर्फ अब कोई चीज जिससे पाबंदी आ सकती, जिससे लगता है external sovereignty थोड़ी बहुत British के हाथ में, वो no European can be employed unless British gives consent. No boundary can be changed unless permission is sought from British. इस बात से थोड़ा बहुत पाबंदी है स्टेटस पे है एक्सटर्नल सॉवरेनिटी पर इंटरनल सॉवरेनिटी जो है यहाँ पर अमृतसर ट्रीटी में इट होली एंड सोली रेस्टेड विद ब्रिटिश सॉरी इन स्टेट महाराजा ऑफ द स्टेट clause नहीं. There is no clause where it is mentioned that there will be resident. There is no clause where it is mentioned that internal sovereignty will be managed by the British. So it is all left in the hands of the Maharaja. So large kind of autonomy was given to Maharaja in the governance of the state. But soon after the signing of the treaty, in very few months, in fact, in only 1 month, the British realized that they did a mistake. Maybe the British realized that this Jammu and Kashmir is not what they thought. Which is why you state actually, if you like, it is a hilly area, it's a barren area, it is unproductive. So they thought why they should go and control this area. What for? Kam khatar kar usse control. और युद्धि बनी का ट्रांसफर गई टेरिटरी और कुछ टाइम के बाद यानी कुछ महीने के बाद ही ब्रिटिश को रियलाइज हो गया नो दे कमिटेड अ ब्लंडर. बस नहीं ये पंजाब साइड नहीं भाई क्योंकि पंजाब का काफी रिलेशन था जम्मू एंड कश्मीर के साथ, इसलिए पंजाब साइड पर अंदर इनको लगा नहीं दे हैव एक्चुअली कमिटेड अ ब्लंडर because they realized that Jammu and Kashmir is a geostrategic area. This area is geographically very important. This area is strategically very important. Once this realization of this state being a very strategic state, it dawned upon the British. The British को realize कि ना ये state जो वारिया strategically important. So ये मनी realization गई, they began to taunt themselves with पांच करसा कैसे कोई. क्योंकि अगर आप जम्मू एंड कश्मीर स्टेट देखते, it had on its eastern side China very close from Ladakh side. On the western side, its borders were touching to the Punjab and then to Afghanistan and then to Central Asia. So it's a काफी important area है. Even through China, they could have through China से एक route जाता था JNK से, and they will go to even to Central Asia as far as Central Asia. तो इनको लगा कि नहीं, this route is very important, this area is very important strategically. So they realized that they did two mistakes. But if there is a mistake, transfer. One, that they transferred the land, which is strategically very important. Second, that they left Maharaja very free. External powers also were given to him and internal powers. That is why क्योंकि मार्च में ट्रीटी साइन होती है और अप्रैल में हम देखते हैं कि लॉर्ड हार्डिंग who was shipped to Shimla. Lord Hardinge was a very important figure in British Indian politics. He was on a visit to Shimla and on return he went through Jammu and Kashmir, and he told Maharaja that the nature of his administration, his terms, his words, Lord Hardinge, the nature of his administration has of misgivings to the British. This simple as one by Kataki Shwane Gulab Singhs is a John administration tariq chu. जैसे आप एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन चला रहे हो, इससे हमारे दिल में या हमारे दिमाग में बहुत कुछ बात हो गई. That means we are not satisfied the way you are running the state. Purpose क्या है? Purpose जो आप pressure build करो महाराजा में. That you are not govern the state well. हालांकि बहुत इथन के मुझे महाराजा react go मत. But more importantly, he has not entered Kashmir even. He shouldn't Kashmir something because यहाँ पर resistance थी. The last governor Sheikh Imamuddin was resisting the Gulab Singh. He was allowing him to come to Kashmir. It was in October 1846. छह years बाद Gulab Singh था Kashmir में because his forces transferred. जब वो हारनों पर जैसे Sheikh Imamuddin. So we know रस्सी को बता हमारे treaty. Lord Hardinge वन Gulab Singh said, "नहीं, we are not satisfied with the way you are running the administration of the state." And this has given a lot of misgivings in the minds of the British government. असल में क्या चाहता है? ये चाहता है कि ब्रिटिश इंटरफेयर करे. ये महाराजा पर प्रेशर बिल्ड कर रहा है कि आप ठीक से हुकूमत नहीं कर रहे हो, और हमें लगता है कि नहीं, ब्रिटिश को इंटरफेयर करना चाहिए. The British should interfere in the administration of the state. Then in June 1846 को कस्टम रखी गई. मार्च में ट्रीटी, अप्रैल, मई, जून, तो 3 days बाद, because around mid June, 21st June 1846, the British government of India sent Renal Taylor, an assistant to Commissioner of Lahore, assistant Commissioner of Lahore, MC pseudonym Kashmiri. His name was Renal Taylor. He was sent to Kashmir. The purpose of his coming to Kashmir was to inquire about the condition of the people of Kashmir, whether they are satisfied with the rule of Gulab Singh or not. हालांकि मैं तो वही नहीं थी. मुझे गुलाब सिंह ने पूरा कंट्रोल कर मत किया जो कश्मीर है. हाँ, उसके कुछ आदमी आए थे यहाँ पर, फोर्सेस भी आए थे, और यहाँ पर मेन सिटी में उन्होंने थोड़ा कंट्रोल किया था. मुझे पूरा किसी कंट्रोल पर किया. Renal Taylor आता है. मिशन क्या? मिशन to question के whether people of Jammu and Kashmir are satisfied, particularly Kashmir are satisfied with the rule of Maharaja Gulab Singh or not. So yeah, we want Renal Taylor, and there was a large, number of people were gathered at Maisuma ground. Why am I jama karne? Maisuma ground is man. Even से interaction करे है ऐसे ये Renal Taylor, where from he will get the inputs about the rule of Gulab Singh. So यहाँ पर जो already Prime Minister appoint किया था गुलाब सिंह ने, राज का अख्तर, he had tutored means कि मैं already पढ़ूं. जो भी लोग आए थे यहाँ पर मैसूमा ग्राउंड में, उनको ऑलरेडी पट्टी पढ़ाई थी कि अगर रीनल टेलर ऐसा कहेगा आपको, यू हैव टू से यस वी आर सेटिस्फाइड. तो जब रीनल टेलर ने इंक्वायर किया इन लोगों से अबाउट द रूल ऑफ गुलाब सिंह, वेदर दे आर हैप्पी और नॉट, सिंस दे हैव बीन ट्यूटर्ड ऑलरेडी पट्टी में पढ़ा, तो दे आंसर्ड इन यस. Yes, we are satisfied with the rule of Gulab Singh. तो यहाँ पर एक मान लो आप ब्रिटिश को मुंह की खानी पड़ी. They had come with a plan. They had sent a person Taylor with a mission. Because what they want is that the Renal Taylor should get original tailor had no option but to leave. मगर असल जो ये चाहे सो ओरिजिनल टेलर्स मिशन हो चाहे सो लॉर्ड हार्टिंग्स मिशन हो मिशन क्या कोई they want a resident in the state which they skipped in the city of Amritsar. Yosh garız ki na is तरह one resident anyhow by any means चाहे वो अपना हो या अपना resident के जासूस status so an agent like he will communicate to us everything that is transpires in the state. पर ये करने में वो नाकाम रहे. जब ब्रिटिश को पता था कि अगर हमने रेजिडेंट यहाँ अपॉइंट कर लिया तो वो हमारे फ्रंटियर कश्मीर का बड़ा फ्रंटियर था. मैंने अभी कहा अफगानिस्तान के साथ मिलता था रशिया के साथ वहां से रशिया के साथ और यहाँ से चाइना के साथ तो दे विल कंट्रोल द फ्रंटियर थ्रू द रेजिडेंट. तो अब क्वेश्चन ये है आप कहोगे कि ऐसा क्यों? Why the British is so much caring about the frontier? Why the British is so much, putting pressure on the Gulab Singh and others on for resident? कि इनको लगता था कि शायद this Gulab Singh, since he had good relations with Punjab state and बड़ा काम ही करन, he might have good relations with Punjab. He might have secret treaties with Punjab. He might secretly approach to Afghanistan, to which its borders are very close. And through Afghanistan, he might approach Russia. Envy was Russia but powerful. So उनको लगता था कि Russia जो है, because of the power that Russia had, and Russia and British were already enemies, so they thought that they could get into trouble. The British Empire in India will get into trouble. So therefore, they tried to get a resident in the state, and through the resident, they will keep a watch on the activities of Gulab Singh and other Maharajas, and they will see that the frontier of Kashmir is not used against the British Empire of India. मगर इनके नाकाम इन दोनों अटेम्प्ट में और ऊपर से हम ये देखते हैं कि after when the Maharaja Gulab Singh fully controlled the state after October or November 1846, when peace returned the valley, when Sheikh Imamuddin's resistance came to an end and peace was restored in the valley, a lot of Europeans, they began to visit the valley, the Kashmir valley. बड़े यूरोपियन लोग कश्मीर में. And since a lot of Europeans, they came to Kashmir, they were mesmerized by the beauty of Kashmir. They were awestruck by this climate, especially in the summers. And many of the Europeans who used to come to British India, they used to then travel to Kashmir because they want to escape from the heat of the North India. The British found other pretexts. They are continuously writing to Maharaja that since a lot of Europeans are visiting the state of Jammu and Kashmir, so therefore the British is thinking that it is prudent to look after the visitors who are visiting the valley. The British लेकर महाराजा के वारिया यूरोपियन जीवन और कश्मीर तो हमें लगता है कि नहीं कुछ ना कुछ इंतजाम होना चाहिए वहां पर हमारा एक आदमी होना चाहिए जो यूरोपियन के को देखे उनकी डिमांड्स को देखे उनको देखे कि वो वहां पर कोई मिस्चीवियस एक्टिविटी ना करें. तो in 1851 though they were thinking or indirectly hinting that there should be a resident, but Maharaja opposed, and in 1851 they convinced the Maharaja that not a resident but an officer should be there, one British officer who will look after the European. So in 1851 an officer on special duty And after 6 months, he has to leave. Because only for 6 months they were allowed. So, officer on special duty was appointed in the state, which had to look after the interests of Europeans, who used to stay in Srinagar for 6 months. Thereafter, we see another incident came in 1857, where we see a mighty revolt broke out in India, and British was preoccupied with the revolt. British got engaged, and somehow their interest in the state, it received a backseat. Because they were preoccupied with the revolt of 1857. And meanwhile, the Maharaja Gulab Singh also died. And it was Ranbir Singh, his son, who took over. But in 1860, the British again became very much interested in the state. And there were obvious reasons for it. The reason was Russia's rapid advancement. Russia जो है वो advance कर रहा था. Russia was advancing towards the east. Russian अगर border वुचो west side या पर Poland शो आजकल और east side वो Central Asia और east side में वो आगे आ रहे. And they had come almost 300 miles ahead. ईस्टर्न साइड से ये तकरीबन 300 किलोमीटर जो थे वो अंदर आए. So it seemed that they are approaching towards British India. यानी ये ब्रिटिश भाषण की नहीं मैं India. They might come towards India, and they thought the route they will choose it is through Kashmir. So that is why they became very interested in the Jammu and Kashmir again. And also, we see they had occupied several areas, Russia, like Tashkent in 1865, Chimkent, Samarkand, Khiva in 1873. So many places were occupied. And they were rapidly advancing ahead. Meanwhile, the new ruler, Maharaja Gulab Singh, was also had ambitious plan. He seems too interested in Central Asian politics. या कुछ महाराज गुलाब रणबीर सिंह के पास है कि issue Central Asian politics was interested because he had sent a mission, an expedition rather, to Shahidullah, Central Asia. His forces went beyond Karakoram Pass in Afghanistan. His forces go Karakoram Pass. And he also dispatched a military expedition to Jharkhand and Kashmir. So British is now feeling that actually it is Ranbir Singh who is having interest in Central Asia and he might be in league with Russia. Even Chubasan Shayad Ranbir Singh das bada par ak league ak I'm sure ak gachod ak Russia se shayad yahan se advance kar rahe aur wahan se advance. They are advancing from here, Ranbir Singh, and Russia is advancing from there. इन दोनों ने शायद एक conspiracy की है. And in that conspiracy, they thought the British will be the victim. इसीलिए हम देखते हैं कि in 1869, the British again pressurized the Maharaja, and a British agent was appointed at Ladakh. Ladakh में British एजेंट अपॉइंट करना, ताकि फिर से यही मकसद था, ताकि जो फ्रंटियर है उस पर नजर रखी जाए, कौन अंदर आ रहा है, कौन बाहर जा रहा है, और फ्रंटियर पर कितनी मूवमेंट है, वहां पर मूवमेंट कैसी है. So what actually we draw from it is that the British is having apprehension that Maharaja is exploring Central Asia. He is trying to, expand his borders, and he might be in league with Russia, because they thought that Russia is advanced from that side and Maharaja is advanced from this side. So it is because of these fears and apprehension that British is now trying everything to at least, if not resident, at least to get good number of officers appointed at different frontier regions, so that they could keep a watch on the frontier and they could see the movement on this side and that side as well. Though they at times pressurized Maharaja that you have to appoint a resident in the state. Even जब हम देखते हैं कि 1878-79 में एक फेमाइन आता है कश्मीर में, और बहुत सारे राइटर्स ये कहते हैं कि the population of Srinagar was reduced to 0 due to this famine, and even Rabir Singh was blamed that in order to escape from the expenses on the famine, रबीर सिंह को ब्लेम करते हैं कि आपने सोचा कि नहीं, मैं जो है ज्यादा खर्च नहीं करना चाहता हूँ फेमाइन स्ट्राइकन पीपल पर, तो आपने क्या किया, यू पैक्ड दीज पीपल ऑन देयर बैक, यू टाइड देम ऑन देयर बैक 2 in 2, जुजकिरित और तुम पैक करन यानी पचिन गना अर्थ, एंड देन यू थ्रो देम इनटू वुलर लैक, नीचा इल्जाम लगाओ. The purpose of this pressure was again to appoint a resident. Gulab Singh was a man who was bold enough, was politically very vigilant. He didn't succumb to this pressure. Emoni pressure kiya. But once he died in 1885, even when the mourning was going on, the mourning hi gayi, the British sent their agent to the new Maharaja Pratap Singh, asking him that no, the resident has to be appointed in the state. There is no way but to appoint a resident in the state. And it was under the rule of Maharaja Pratap Singh in 1885 the British resident was appointed in the state. And the first resident to be appointed was Oliver St. John. The first resident to be appointed was Oliver St. John. In this way, residency was established in the state in 1885 with the British. तो जो ख्वाब वो पहले से देख रहे थे, वो ख्वाब जो है वो शर्मंदगी ताबीर हो गई 1885 में, और फर्स्ट रेजिडेंट ऑलिवर सेंट जॉन था. The first resident was Oliver St. John, and thereafter many residents were appointed from time to time. So this actually we discussed today, the establishment of residency, and tomorrow inshallah we will discuss the role of resident. अगर इसका क्वेश्चन